Well, hello everybody. We might get started. Welcome to this webcast, Model Viewer Tips and Tricks. I'm the host today. My name's Shane O'Rourke, and you will be receiving a great webcast from Andrew Benson today. So say hello, Andrew.
Hi, Shane. Can you hear me okay?
Bang, the audio is fantastic, so thank you.
Nice.
So Andrew will be presenting to you Model Viewer Tips and Tricks. If you look at Andrew's title, Application Specialist and Development Guru, Andrew's actually been with us very long time. I think of the technical staff, I'm probably the only one that's elder. So yeah, Andrew is one of our very senior application specialists, but he's also a very skilled development person within our development team, and you guys are lucky. You're going to be seeing tips and tricks from the architect of Model Viewer. So you know, the development of Model Viewer has certainly been driven very strongly from Andrew's development work. So you couldn't find a better person to get tips and tricks from. I think I'm going to learn something in this session. So look, everybody, welcome. Just so you know, this webcast will be recorded, so don't be concerned about if you miss a step because somebody's tapping on the shoulder for something. It will be recorded and published on our YouTube channel, and I will present that path to that web page at the end of the session. If you have any questions during the session, please use the question and answer. Far better than using the chat, but questions that you pop in, if we can answer them on the fly, we will, or we'll definitely make an effort to answer them at the end. So either you'll get feedback from me, or we'll raise it in as a topic of discussion during the presentation. So without much further ado, I'll hand over to Andrew. So Andrew, I'll let you take over from here.
Thanks, Shane. So, hi everyone. Look, as Shane said, my name is Andrew Benson. I'm a software developer at Civil Survey Solutions. In today's session, we're going to explore Model Viewer. We will take a look at some of the newer improvements and, of course, run through some tips and tricks, given that is the title of the webcast. However, we have a new update coming out any day now, which includes improvements to Model Viewer. So I want to take this opportunity to present these to you as well. Civil Site Design version 21.2 contains a lot of new improvements and fixes. The biggest improvement actually is an updated pipes vertical grading editor with full mouse, wheels, zoom and pan. So we're very excited for this release coming out soon. So I'll be running a beta version for our session today. I'll kick off by running through a very short PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll get into the live theatre. So, what is Model Viewer? If you didn't know, Model Viewer is the 3D visualization module in Civil Site Design. It was created so that rather than just reviewing cross sections and long sections whilst working on the design, you could also see your design in 3D and updating as you perform changes. Civil design is slowly moving towards more 3D design, and designers are still required to output sections. However, more and more are building 3D models or required to submit a 3D model. And this is especially so as BIM becomes more prevalent. So it is important that Model Viewer continues to develop, and it will become an area where you can prepare BIM models and perform a lot more analysis, such as collision detection, for example. So we may need to rename Model Viewer to something else at some point as it grows. So I mean, at the moment, you can do things like site distance checking. You can display point clouds and CAD data, add extra 3D models, IFC, OBJ, automate line marking, and export models out to PDFs or whatever as well. So this year we've continued to work on Model Viewer. We added IFC support, which we will continue to improve as part of BIM. We added CAD import, DWG, DXF files can be imported into Model Viewer. We added a walk mode, so you can walk around the model like you're in a video game. We added a water drop. We improved the point cloud tools recently, and we added the ability to export to other formats. So as I mentioned, a new version of CSD 21.2 will be out very soon. And this contains a lot of nice improvements to Model Viewer. We have improved the export tools. We fixed some stability issues. We have a new standalone viewer, which allows you to export Model Viewer scenes to a single file that can be opened by others using our free viewer. And this will be available when we release this next update. A lot of work has gone into improving the image from satellite tools, aerial imagery, so they are higher quality, more accurately positioned, and we now support the GDA 2020 coordinate system. So there's a lot of other minor fixes and improvements as well, and I'll cover a lot of these improvements in the presentation. So on Model Viewer Standalone, there is a version out there. It's pretty much nothing more than an OBJ viewer. This really takes it to the next level. If you've created this wonderful scene in Model Viewer, you might want to share it with others, perhaps a client or your person checking your design. So you can now export to an MVS file. This is their own file format, and you can open up that file in our free viewer. The viewer will be available to download from our website. So anyone can open your model, view it in 3D, take screenshots. It supports point clouds and even CAD data. So you could store long sections and cross sections in there too. So here's just some screenshots of this the Model Viewer viewer. So you can see on this example, I've got some cross sections here in CAD, but I'm also able to spin the model around in 3D. So this is free. Someone doesn't have CAD and can't open up your project, well, they could at least do so via this viewer. Okay, so let's jump into the presentation, the live show. I'm going to kick off by downloading aerial imagery and terrain data. I'll build the model up so we can display it in Model Viewer, and along the way we can run through tips and tricks and also the new improvements that I've spoken about. When we do these web sessions, we have to pick a platform to run CSD on, and today I thought I would use AutoCAD. However, all functionality is the same across all platforms. The other day I just knocked up some few alignments and put some line work in, so it's just a very basic outline, and yeah, so let's get started. So the first command I wanted to run was the satellite surface command. So let me just launch that, and I'm going to go for National Grid Australia. So as I said, I'm running a beta, and in this new version released very soon, we do support GDA 2020 coordinate system, a new coordinate system, so you can use that. This case, I'm going to go for GDA 94 MGA 56. I'm just going to click on confirm satellite data. Okay, so this area I'm going to is Mollymook. Just zoom out a little bit. So I want to bring in, so my alignments basically represent a little mini subdivision around here. So the first thing I want to do is just define the area that I want to download for terrain. So I click on define area, I pick the top left point, and then I pick the bottom right corner, and then I get this sort of red area, rectangle representing the area I'm going to download. So as I mentioned, we have improved the quality of the imagery now. So we'll actually download at the highest quality. Now, in regards to the imagery, what we see is what we get. So at the moment, I'm going to also download the imagery for all of this. Another thing we added actually was this little image buffer, which I'll explain why later, but we actually download a little bit more image to the top and to the left there. So if I wanted to basically control the extent of the image downloaded, I just move the window and I just drag it around. So as long as I cover that red area, I've got enough aerial imagery. So next thing I'm going to do, actually I'll just change this to Google Satellite. It's more up to date. Click on accept. So the first thing we're doing is downloading the elevations. So we will have a terrain. And when that's finished, you'll now get a message box, or we may get a message box. If the area is over a certain amount, we will ask you whether you want to download the imagery at a lower quality. So if you have 30 kilometers, some really large area, you probably don't want to download it at the highest quality. So in this case, I'm going to say no, and I'll get the high quality downloaded, or the highest quality available to us from the map provider. So I'm going to create a surface from that data called NS, and I'm going to click OK. And I've now got the imagery at a much better quality than the last version, and better positioned as well. We actually, you'll see there's actually a rotation being applied. So we're properly transforming from the world coordinates to the MGA coordinate system there. Right. And because of that rotation, that's why we're adding a bit more imagery around the sides here. Okay, now to build this project, I'm actually going to use Project Assist. So this will basically predict how I might want to set up this job and automate it for me. And as I said, there is a webcast on it if you want to find out more and if you want to join the beta program on that. So I've got some alignments created, curve returns, I've got a model, total model. So I'm now ready to jump into Model Viewer. So let's go and do that. You can access Model Viewer from the Roads tab, the Surfaces tab. There's a few different areas where you can do so. So when you run Model Viewer for the first time, the following form will appear. So you'll get asked to pick a primary surface and a base surface. So primary is like your main design, generally something like total model or a model builder model. And the base surface is normally your existing terrain. And you'll notice there's some tick boxes here to trim the base surface. So as you add additional design surfaces in, if trim is ticked on, we're basically creating holes in that base surface so the design surfaces can show. And actually the slowest sort of part of processing Model View refreshing is all that trimming that happens. I'm pointing that out for a reason because I want to show you a little tip as we get into it. So anyway, on my base, I want the software to use the image from satellite that we have. So if I click OK, Model Viewer will load up. The software's automated or automatically applied materials for us. A lot of that comes from what we call design styles. I'll get into that a little bit later on, and I'll just show you a few tips and tricks in regards to assigning materials to particular parts of your model. Okay, I guess the first thing I wanted to start off with was going through this new status bar. There's a few commands down here that I think are really useful. And the first one being a command called fast refresh. So as I said, the slowest part of Model Viewer, the processing, is trimming out the holes where your design is against the natural. I mean, you might have a really big natural surface, lots of triangles, and you might want the software to, be dynamically updating that design model, really quick. So what you can do is turn on fast refresh, and what it does is it caches the base surface, and it also caches any line marking you have, because that also is slow to can be slow to regenerate, depending on the size. So if fast refresh is on, you'll notice that when you refresh the model, it's a lot quicker. So if you're at the point where the design's pretty much done and you're just adding objects and doing some cleaning up and preparing a scene, then I certainly recommend turning fast refresh on. I'm just going to turn it back off there. The next command is a new one, actually. It's just a very simple command, but allows you to toggle on and off the primary surface. So here I can see just the natural surface, and we can quickly toggle the primary design back on. To the right of that is animation. I will show some animation a little bit later on if you wanted to sort of animate a vehicle driving along the road. To the right of that is the ability to turn on and off orthographical view. So at the moment we're looking, a camera is set to a sort of like a perspective view. The reason we added orthographical is because you can now import CAD DWG files. So sometimes in order to overlay CAD, you want to be looking through an orthographical view. So that's what that is. The little man icon is walk mode, as I mentioned at the start. So as long as you're sort of hovering over either the primary or the base surface, you can tick on the little man here. Comes up with a message box explaining how it works. So sort of like a computer game, W and S to move forward and back, A and D to go left and right. And you can then move your mouse around to look. And if I use the keys, I can sort of walk around the model like this. And we did put this little stupid jump in. Oh, it's not really stupid, but if I hit spacebar, we do this really big super jump. And I guess there's maybe some purpose to that if you're analysing the model. So anyway, we did add walk mode this year as well. If I want to get out of walk mode, I just click on the little man again. We can go back out. To the right of that is the ability to toggle on and off transparency. So if you've got some transparent materials, you can use this button to toggle the transparency on and off. And the last button is the display of the ribbon. So if I click on that, we can turn off the ribbon. And I guess the purpose for this was if you were showing the model to someone else, looking over your shoulder, it looks a little bit cleaner with the ribbon turned off. In fact, in the new version, we've added that in a number of places. If I open up a cross-section, the ribbon, say for the cross-section viewer, I can now turn off the ribbon there and just get a bit more space, especially if I've got, more than one cross-section window open. So anyway, that's the, some of the commands in the status bar there. Another command we added this year was water drop. So if I right-click the mouse anywhere, I can add a water drop. So just right-click, select on Add Water Drop. And I can add as many of these as I want. So the blue ball is where I selected, and then the yellow object here is the low point. So that's sort of where water ends up. So this command is also available off the ribbon as well, in CAD, off the roads or surfaces tab, I think. If you're running our software on AutoCAD or BricsCAD. Now these water drops are only temporary, so as soon as I do a refresh, then they'll disappear. Okay. So I mentioned that with Model Viewer, we really want to, in time, improve IFC and BIM outputs. And we started that by allowing you to import IFC files. And I have an IFC file that came out of Revit for a hotel. So I'm going to position that in Model Viewer. So to do that, I click on the Objects tab and select on Import Object. Click on the button with the 3 dots to go to Explorer. So in order to import the IFC, down the bottom right, you'll see the different files that we support. So for adding 3D models, at the moment we support OBJ, 3ds, and now IFC. So I click on the IFC file for the hotel, give it a name, I'll just call it hotel. And then I'm going to select on setup position. Now some IFC files have the coordinates stored in them. So they might, the hotel for whatever reason might be accurately positioned to MGA 55 or 56 where I am. So in that case, I don't have to go to setup position. If I go straight to import, the hotel will be positioned in the right spot. In this case, the coordinates of the hotel at 00, reference to 00. So in this case, I'm going to go and position, or pick a point where I want the hotel to be imported, and just manually position it. And I want to match the hotel onto the natural surface, but I might have some sort of pad or something that I've designed. So I click apply and then import. The models, it'll take a few seconds to load in. It's not a small model, although I think all the furniture and that is stripped out in the middle of it, which I recommend you do if you're pushing out an IC from Revit. You might not need to bring across everything. So we can see the hotel is added. So if I wanted to position this model a little bit better than this goes for any of the objects in model view actually. All I do is pick on select. I select the hotel, and then I right-click the mouse to open up this little gizmo. Now, I find positioning in a top view is certainly much easier than trying to position in any other view. So I can use these arrows to move the hotel around and position it the way that I want. Once I've finished doing this, I just double-click the mouse, and you'll see that actually in the I lost it, but down the bottom here will tell you what it's asking for next. So double click to accept, and then we've got that IFC file added there. So in time, I mean, the great thing about IFC files is that, you know, you can interrogate certain parts of the model, and that is something that we'll do. We'll allow you to pick on certain parts of the model and view the, you know, the properties for that. So that's sort of next step for us. But yeah, it's an example of adding, you know, an IFC file. As I said, this came originally from Revit. I mentioned at the start that we've also made improvements to the point cloud tools. Point clouds perform a lot faster now, and improved a whole bunch of stuff with regards to point clouds. So I want to bring in some point cloud data, and where I got this data from was the Elvis website, which you may or may not be familiar with. This is the website here. It's really cool. You just type in any area around Australia, pick the area that you want, and then you can download all sorts of data, including point cloud data. So you just put your email address in, and when it's all ready, they'll send you an email with the point cloud data that you can download. So, so I want to import that. All I do is click on point clouds, setup, and this form appears. So we support LAS and ASCII. So I'm going to go for an LAS file, click on add file, and I've got one here. Now I did actually edit it slightly and actually use the editing tools available in Model Viewer. There were certain parts that I didn't want, so I just selected parts of the point cloud and deleted it. And there is an option to then re-export that out to an LAS file. So that's what I've done. So I pick the point file and go import. I actually end up downloading quite a large area, but I think it's turned out quite cool. I've got sort of mountains in the background, and we can see the ocean and all that type of thing. And I think it really brings the scene alive a bit, because you know, we can see the trees and the buildings and that type of thing. And the fact that it's just freely available, I think is really cool. So it'll just take a few more seconds. There we go. Okay, so this is the point cloud. So that was my starting area. And you can see I can sort of zoom around. I can see the trees, the buildings, even the ocean out here. And all tying in to the model we started off with. So, as I said, we've made some improvements here. It performs, it might be a little bit hard to tell through a webcast, but this is actually really super quick. So the performance is much better, and as you can see, it defaults in color. There's a few more things you can do with point clouds in the software, and we will certainly do more with point clouds. But I think this is a nice, simple example of point clouds. And if you didn't know about that Elvis website, certainly recommend that you check it out. So our scene is sort of coming together a bit. What I might do now is zoom up onto one of these roads and maybe start adding some objects. So maybe we wanted some, light poles or street lights or something like that. And then maybe we'll do a quick animation as well. So this can be achieved back over on the Objects tab. So I added a single object before using the import object to get the IC file in. This time I'm going to click on object groups. So I want to create a group of objects for the light poles along either side of the road. So I click on add group. I'm going to call this, let's go for lights. And then I set up the position of those lights. So I click on set up position. I want to reference them along road C, and the offset, I just click the offset point, say that'll do. So it's -8 meters from the center line of the road, and the elevations will be matched to the natural surface. Next step is to set the object I want to insert and the frequency. So by chainage range at interval, I click on add, pick on the model that I want to bring in. So even at this point, I mean, if it was a 3ds file or an IFC, I could go and pick those, but we'll go for this street light object. And I'm going to say to insert it every 30 meters. So if I click on import, hit close, right, you can see that we've got some street lights in. Now to do the other side of the road, what I can do is go back to groups and just copy that group. So I'm going to click on copy group and just change the position. So rather than having a negative offset, we'll make that positive. And for the angle, I'm just going to flip it 180 degrees. So click on apply and then close. Okay. Now this light pole is sort of in the middle of the road here at the intersection, so I can just select on that individual light pole and just delete it. Okay. All right, so that's a nice quick way to add street lights, and you can see that they're also rotating with the road. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is add a car, and we'll animate this car along the road. So I'll go back to groups. The only way to do animation is through object groups. So I'm going to add another group, and I'm going to call this one cars. Set up position. So in regards to the position, I want to position it between the center line and the left edge. So I'm going to use midway between codes. So on road C, we'll say between center line and left edge bitumen, and we'll match it down to total model. Apply. So I want to add just the single car. So I'm going to say add by single chainage. Click on add. Put in the famous Hilux. we'll just start it off at chainage 0 and click on import. So if I want the car to animate, what I need to do is tick on animate and set a speed here. So we'll just go for 80 and select on close. All right, so you can see the car is positioned here. So in order to animate, all I need to do is down at the status bar, click on the animate, and you'll see the vehicle driving along the road. Now there's a few other areas where animation is used. If I was to do a drive along the road, I can turn on the animation. So if I click on analysis drive, pick on road C, you'll see there's the option to animate. So we'll tick on animate and select on drive. Car's going a bit faster than I am. I'm doing 60. So yeah, you can while you're doing the drive, you could also have the animation running. And if you record a video as well, if I'm recording this, then yeah, the animation will be included in that as well. Okay. All right, so that's just a bit of a run through on how we can quickly add objects. I mean, using object groups, you can certainly get objects into the scene quite quick. And then, you know, for animation, you can, within an object group, say that objects will animate, put a speed in. In a sec, I will just run through the record video, and you'll see that when we record a video, we can also have the animation running as well. Okay, now I often get asked, well, let me explain the issue. Let's just say that for my footpath, rather than having this material, I wanted a different material. So in order to change a material, what we do is right-click on the triangles, and then we select Assign Material Group to Triangle, which you probably already know. Now, when we triangulate up one of our models, each triangle, each point on the triangle is coded. So through the footpath, we have codes with FPI, for footpath inner, FPO, footpath outer, footpath inner. And so there's three points on the triangle, and they're the codes there. So throughout the model, that code combination will have footpath. But I'm going to change it to rock and select apply. You'll see what happens is the whole model has changed, which is, you know, might be good. You might want that. However, how about if I just wanted just this road string to have that material? Let me show you how you can achieve that. So let's just go back to footpath for now. So what I'm going to do is click on toggle display, and it's the design styles that control you know, the materials assigned to those code combinations. So I'm going to click on this button to create a new style. So I'll open up the design style editor, and I'm going to create a new one here. I'll call it, let's call it new style. Okay. And down the bottom of this form, there's a checkbox that says assign string code suffix. Basically what it does is for each code, it also appends the string that it came from. So what that means is you have a lot more flexibility over how the materials are assigned, okay? So with that ticked on, the next thing I'm going to do is tell the software, well, all of the code combinations from total model, we want to create a style from. So I click on append codes. The software will actually automatically assign materials for you. And so if you fill this out and say, look, EB is what I use for edge of bitumen, 9V is the inverted my curve, BAT is batter, then that'll help the software determine what material to assign. So it's going to run through and set that up for us. It's taking a few seconds there. Okay. Now, it's taken a little bit longer because we have a lot more code combinations. You can see these weird sort of extra values assigned here. Don't worry too much about that. But anyway, all the materials have been assigned. Now, as you might know if you used Model Viewer before, any material that, or any code combination that we don't have a material for will be red. Now, in order to sort of quickly get rid of the red material, what you can do is come down to the bottom here, and I can say, well, anything that was red or anything that was unassigned, make it say grass. So I can click on grass and say override unassigned. So all of those red are now grass. But this is very useful down the bottom here. I mean, I can select a whole bunch of code combinations and set the material and click on override selected here. And you can actually sort using these columns up the top here. So if you're assigning materials, rather than just right-clicking in Model Viewer and going assign material to triangle, often it's quicker just to come in here, create a new style, append the codes from a model, and set it up this way. So if I click on OK, and click on OK, you'll see that everything pretty much looks the same as before. However, what I can do now is when I right-click on that footpath and select Assign Material Group, it'll be unique to this string. So if I say, well, just this string is rock, right, that's what we get. So that one's rock, and then the rest is the other footpath. What we might do, and I was thinking about this when I was ran through this morning, is we probably should also do left and right as well. So you might have one material for the left and another material for the right. So that's something we might add in the future. But anyway, if you want that sort of more flexible material assignment per string, then you can do that. Same with the pavement here. I might want a different material for the pavement. I can do that now with the assigned string code suffix ticked on. Okay, so the next thing I want to show is a new command we added this year called CAD import. So this allows you to overlay a DWG or DXF file into Model Viewer. So yes, it's great for line work and text, if I want to show, say, property boundaries or some text or whatever. But I think the real benefit of it is 3D models. You might have modeled up a bridge or some other solids, maybe a culvert or a head wall or whatever. You can show those solids that you've modeled in CAD by using this new CAD import. And I'll show you right at the end, I will show you an example of that. Now, I have another drawing file here called overlay, and it's just some boundaries and some text. So what I'm going to do is, let's change the view here a bit. What I'm going to do is click on Import CAD, and I'm going to go to that DWG file. As I said, you can import DXF as well. Click on Open. All right, you can see that I've overlaid the DWG or the CAD data inside Model Viewer here. Now, this is where that orthographical view comes into play as well. So if I wanted to see that without perspective view, then I can just tick on orthographical mode. One of the cool things about this is if I was to say, make a change in here and call this, say, lot 1, and then just hit save. All I need to do is click on load, and then you can see that updating in Model Viewer. So yeah, really great for showing property boundaries or some extra text or something like that. But probably mainly for solids, and I'll show you, as I said, I'll show you an example of that at the end as well. So So that is a look at CAD import. Let's go back to our data set here. Another question I often get asked in model viewers is it possible to show the chainages along a road? So let me show you how you can do that. If you click on the Labels tab and click on Add, we can add extra labels to this scene. And it might just be a note that we want to add, but it might be a chainage, a single chainage, you know, elevation or crossfall or something like that. We did add recently the option to show road chainages. It's really simple. I'm just going to put on my labels a prefix of SH, and we'll say the type is road chainages, and I want to show the road chainages for road C. We just pick a label style. I'll just go standard. The leader height I'll set to 5, and I'll match that down to total model. So if I click on add, then you'll see the chainages appear. So if you ever thought whether it can be done, it can. It's the way to do it. Great thing is it gives us a bit of an idea of where we're at in regards to the chainages. And at any point, if you want to just turn those off, you just click on the labels off switch here and just turn them back on as well. That'll be all custom labels that we've added to the scene. So I mentioned the ability to record a video, record a flyover. So let's head over to the Outputs tab, and I might show a couple of commands in here. Let's grab a drink. So to record a video flyover, we click on Record Video, and we create a new video by clicking on this button with the green plus. I'm just going to call this one Flyover. It's really simple. I normally throw this onto another screen, but we just select on Add Snapshot and rotate the camera, click on Add Snapshot, again, Add Snapshot. And what the software will do is interpolate through those points and create a video for us. So if I was to hit play, you'll see it slowly interpolating between those snapshots. If I want to increase the speed, the easiest thing to do is to click on this button here, Calculate from Speed, and type in a camera speed. So let me go 150 Ks and select Apply. So if I hit on play, then it's a lot faster there. Now, as I said, we could turn on animation as well. So remember, we put this little car into the scene. So if I tick on Animate Scene and hit play, then you'll also see that car animating. And I think when you're creating a video and you've got a little bit of animation, it really, brings it to life a bit. Now, in regards to rendering the video, when I click on Create Video, this form will appear. So we give the video a name. Frame rate, I'd keep it around 30. You can add a watermark down the bottom of the AVI, maybe your company's logo or something like that. You then set the folder you want to save the AVI to, and you also specify a temp folder location that's just used during the processing. So these directories must exist. The software will make sure that they do. Depending on your graphics card and that you have, if I think by default hardware acceleration is turned on, if for whatever reason the software's having troubles rendering, then I recommend that you tick on safe mode. It's another method of creating the AVI file. This is actually new in the update, new CSD version 21.2. But anyway, by clicking on Setup Video, the software will output an AVI for us. Some useful reports that you might not have known about. in Model Viewer. The first one being the areas report. So if I click on areas report, we get this dialog appearing. So what it does is it lists all the materials in our material groups, and for each material it tells me the area and the 3D area. So this can be really useful for doing sort of quantity calculations. So I know, the area of footpath I have. That is the area of the the rock footpath, and this report can be outputted to a table or a spreadsheet by using these two buttons here. So some people didn't know that was there, but I think it's a really handy tool. Since we do have some objects that we've added, we might want to create some sort of set out report for all of these objects. So by clicking on Objects Report, we can do that. How it works is we pick the reference alignment, and then for each object, it'll show the chainage and offset for set out. So for all of those street lights. Once again, we can output to a table or a spreadsheet. Another useful report is the totals. So we can see we have one hotel, 21 street lights, and one Hilux. Okay. So I thought I'd chuck that into our tips and tricks webcasts. So the final thing that I want to do before we get into some Q&A is I want to show you some of the export tools, because I think for Model Viewer, I think the export is important. As I said, you might want to export to, say, Navisworks, or maybe another program for some realistic rendering or something like that, or for other BIM software. So we've been working on the export. So when I click on export, just click on a file here, you'll see the different files that we support. It's OBJ, for example, PDF, DWG. And we've actually improved these. There were some issues where if you had aerial imagery that was rotated, that didn't export correctly, or there might have been issues exporting. So a lot of that's been improved. So let me do a couple of examples of this, and then to finish off, I really want to show this Model Viewer Standalone, because I think it's could be a real benefit for users. So let me start off by doing a PDF. Let's call it AB PDF. So it'll take a few seconds to create. I'll just get this directory ready on my other computer. Oh, it's on my other monitor. Just open it up. So with the PDF, it doesn't include the point cloud, but some of the other exports do. All right, so here's a 3D PDF. You might be outputting, PDF files with all your long sections and cross sections. So, you can also, include this as well. Okay, and you can see even the objects and the IC file goes across. And what we do now is we actually create another version of the imagery that's rotated, and so that's why it's able to be positioned, accurately still. One of the other options was the ability to output a HTML file. So rather than waiting for it to process, I do have something I prepared earlier. Once again, we've made some improvements to this in the latest version. Cool thing here is you could, you might have a website, and if you upload this HTML, it's a web 3D HTML. You could have clients or people go and view this online through Google Chrome or whatever. So the final export is the MVS file. So this is sort of our model viewer file format. So what I'm going to do is just minimize AutoCAD here. So this will be released as part of the next update of Civil Site Design. It's a free viewer, be available on our website. It's only about 4 meg to download. So all I do is I double click to run it. As I said, you might have other staff or a manager or a client downloading this. So it looks very much like Model Viewer. Really simple to use. All I do is I click on File, Open, and you can see here I've got some files I've created earlier. So the first one I want to show you is just the one we worked on. You'll see you'll get a little thumbnail of the project as well. So click on Open. So the cool thing about this is it actually includes the point cloud and any CAD data as well. All right, so here's our data set we saw before. The point cloud and the render there. So you can take screenshots in here, you can review the model. We certainly want to do a lot more with this in the future. Let me show you another example. Let me do this bypass. So this was a job that a New Zealand user built. A guy named Bruce Preston designed this bike path, and it's really fantastic model. Just the different tools that are used in Model Viewer. So you can actually see that he's got this underpass modeled, and he's also got this bridge. So he uses Civil Site Design with BricsCAD, and he created the bridge using just BricsCAD solids and brought them into Model Viewer using that CAD import tool that I showed you. Now just on the CAD import tool, you might have added some materials in BricsCAD or AutoCAD to the solids. If you've done that, so if I added concrete material in AutoCAD, when I bring in the CAD import, you can have a material, you can have that concrete material show. You just need to make sure that that material exists in material groups. So if I have a material added to a solid in CAD, then I just need to make sure that same material is added in material groups, and then it'll render that that solid for you. Okay. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So all he did was position the bridge in CAD, and so in Model View he just imports it and it appears. So and so he modelled the underpass as well. Use extrusions for these fences and whatever. So it's a really nice model. Aerial imagery looks fantastic too. So, but I do like the idea of users being able to now export out their model to a single file. It's a compressed file as well, and being able to easily share it as well. The final example here I wanted to show was actually a model, but with CAD data in it. So I'm just going to go and turn the background to black. So as I said, someone might be reviewing your project, and they might not have AutoCAD or Civil 3D or something like that. So the idea is, for maybe design review, you'll be able to create this MVS file, include the cross sections and long sections and CAD data, and also the rendered model as well. So if I go to the view, I'll be able to change to an orthographic view. So everything sort of lines up a little bit better. Let's just go back to perspective view here. But we can spin that model around and see that road in 3D as well. But we also get the CAD data. So yeah, I think this free viewer, I think it'd be worth us spending a lot more time on. I think it'd be interesting to get the feedback from users about something like this as a way of sharing the design, not just only the 3D model, but also with the CAD data as well. Geez, it was almost at 2 o'clock. So look, when you do these types of sessions, I feel it can easily become information overload. There's probably a lot more things I could show in Model Viewer. You could certainly delve deeper into other areas. So I didn't do anything on site distance or line marking. My colleague Terry recently did a webcast on road safety, which you'll find on YouTube, and it covers a lot of that part of Model Viewer. So I recommend that you check that out too if you haven't already. So with that, are you there, Shane?
Sorry,
Shane?
Andrew,
Yeah.
I am here. Technical issues. My final PowerPoint screen is not displaying, but I'll be able to round us out if you're done. Thank you, Andrew. Absolutely fantastic presentation of Model Viewer and deep dive in areas and tips and tricks. So it was a great overview. Certainly, it was good for me to see that idea of assigning materials based on the more individualized coding. So that was certainly enlightening for me. So hopefully everybody got something out of that session. I'm just having a look at the questions coming in. So there's a question here, will civil site design support exporting of a format that will retain geolocation for use in other visualizing applications?
Yes. So we support, so when you use OBJ, as you mentioned, is not geo-referenced. However, what you can do is push out a CAD drawing, DWG. So if you use CAD, we actually create a CAD file with 3D faces, and it's all geo-referenced and with render material on it as well. Could probably do that. So, as Shane maybe brings up other questions.
Yeah, cool. So everybody watch the screen while I talk. So there's a question here, can we drape a CAD file over the surface? I think I can answer that one directly. The rendering of the CAD drawing is as it was defined in CAD. So if you have 3D polylines, if you have 3D solids in your CAD drawing, then we will take those straight across and view them in Model Viewer. So if you've got 2D geometry, we'll show the 2D geometry. If you've got 3D geometry, then we'll basically render that CAD drawing in Model Viewer. So if you've got 3D polylines, that's what we'll show. If you've got 3D solids, that's what we'll show. So hopefully that answers that question.
So this is a DWG file that we create. It's actually rendered as well, so I can go to realistic. So this is a DWG file. Everything's all to MGA56. So a lot of BIM applications, Navisworks and all those programs will read in a DWG file. So this is one way to get spatially accurate data into another program. And a lot do now allow you to import DWG.
Cool. Thank you, Andrew. I will answer a question that came up that I did answer in the Q&A. There was a note about the lagging. So, Andrew, you showed the video and you increased the frame rate, increased the speed. And unfortunately, viewers didn't get to appreciate that. And that's a fact of our Zoom web session and that you're live rendering video. So please, if you thought it was laggy, do it on your machine. You'll see it's perfectly smooth. So it's not a function of Model Viewer jumping. It's a function of jumping the presentation across the worldwide into Google.
Yeah. Actually, a question I just saw: can the design review be marked up in? Can design review be marked up in Standalone Viewer? Not at this stage, but yeah, that's the intention. So that someone could actually start to mark up, your design or whatever. So this is sort of first pass, and yeah, if users really like what it can do, then yeah, we'll certainly expand to put in, design review and a lot more information about the project.
Cool. Well, look, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Andrew, for helping play delay tactics while I got my PowerPoint back up and running. So we shall be seeing that end screen. So again, thank you from myself and on behalf of the audience, Andrew, for a great presentation on Model Viewer, and it's really exciting to see that standalone utility, and it's great to get the feedback from customers on how that could be expanded and used in lots of different ways. So if you missed any of this recording or you'd like to watch it again, we do post our recordings on YouTube, and basically you just go to Civil Survey Solutions group and you'll find it up there in the next couple of days. Andrew mentioned a web session on Project Assist, which is our AI offering. That session, if you look in the YouTube panel area, you'll find is the 30th of July. And Model Viewer was explored for sight distance, in particular, and other aspects in the Road Safety Tools webcast from Terry Selton, 24th of June. So just two to have a look at that we mentioned. Looking forward, our next session is 24th of September, so next week. And we're looking at AutoCAD Fields 101, and I invite you to come to that to see what's coming next on the webcasts. So, Andrew, thank you again, and thank you everybody for attending. Look forward to seeing you in the next web session.
Thanks, guys.